Hey Moonies, welcome to the Sailor Moon Fan Club podcast. I'm your host, Victoria L. Johnson, and I'm here with Michelle Nguyen Bradley, aka I Am Chubby Bunny. She's a host, voice actor, writer, producer, and professional tabletop RPG player. I'm super excited to have her on the podcast. Hey Michelle.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Is that a weird way to open a podcast with "How are you, milady"?
No, I like it. I feel like you're bringing the RPG vibes already.
You know.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, first question I like to ask everybody is, what is your first memory of watching Sailor Moon?
Oof. So I watched Sailor Moon when it originally was broadcasting via I think it was on Dick, I think, on the DIC on I think 6 a.m. Eastern time, Monday through Friday, and I religiously got up early. This is, before I would have to get up for school usually, go run downstairs in the dark and, watch my 25 minutes of Sailor Moon or whatever it was without commercials. And just I put it on like the lowest volume setting. I definitely remember back in the day the volume was really big and green bars in the bottom.
Yeah. Oh my god.
So it would just be on it would be on the one bar. Because I don't know why, I just knew I should hide this like that I would like this thing. Yes, I lived in fear. And then so I think it came out when Sailor Moon came out in America. I think she, the character was 14, and I think I was also 14, or maybe I was 1 year younger. I can't remember the math on that. So I'm very old, please don't do my math of my age, but
I'm bad at math.
I think that's my first memory is definitely like watching it in silence, like quietly. Don't share this copy with anybody. This is weird that I like this. I don't know why I thought it was weird. But then I believe in high school I started talking to another girl who also liked Sailor Moon, and it was like incredible. I thought it was the most amazing thing that's one other person liked this thing that I did.
I love that when people find friends through Sailor Moon. It's like such a cool like little community we have where it's like, wait, are you into Sailor Moon too? It's like under the table.
Well, yeah, I mean, and this is when did it start airing in America? Was it 94, 96? My math is rough right now. Something around there. So back in those days, before the internet, before Twitter, YouTube, all that stuff existed, you didn't know who liked what. You just assumed like whatever it is you were watching, you just assumed you were watching it by yourself. Like watching media was such a private experience, like back in those days. Because there was no community about talking about nerd things. And so I definitely hit it. And nowadays you can go, throw a rock and you can find someone who likes Sailor Moon or Dragon Ball or, knows what anime is. I literally walk around my block and there's a guy with like anime stickers all over his car. Just like, just lives there. It's some stranger I don't know who I know likes anime.
Yeah.
And I think that's so interesting now. But yeah, back in the olden times, it felt like you were watching by yourself in a vacuum.
That's so true. Like, I feel like you would only know if you just happen to see someone with like a Sailor Moon like sticker or like something where it's like, do you know?
Little tiny keychains.
Yeah.
Remember those really old, like totally bootleg keychains that everyone had? Yeah. Little figures.
Oh my god. Yeah. You're really bringing me back between like the volume, like the green bars. Yeah. That was just like a memory unlocked that I forgot I had.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. Just all those little things. And it's always just like immediate best friends kind of territory.
Yeah.
Well, as you were watching, either back then or even if you, rewatched since then, have you had any favorite episodes or moments that you like?
Ooh, that's a hard one. I would say, I don't know. I can't say I liked every single episode, right? There was some filler that was junk, and not all of it holds up. Yeah, when scrutinized closely, a lot of the original, and I'm talking about the original 90s stuff. I'm not talking about the reboot. I'm not even talking about the redubs. I'm talking about the original, like the OG cast. I think I have a lot of strong memories of all of Sailor Moon, but especially the music. And I remember the first time I heard the Sailor Stars opening was not when I watched Sailor Stars, because if you remember, that was not licensed for release in North America at all. Nope. That was only released in like Spain, Italy, like other countries got it, and like Mexico got it, but like North America never got it until, I don't know that we ever did, actually. I can't remember until Viz picked it up.
Media. Mm-hmm.
So it was like Yeah, because there was that joke about like the whole cousins thing. That was what happened when it was released in, I want to say Canada or France. But anyway, so anyway, sorry, I'm just skipping around here. But the first time I heard the Sailor Stars opening was on one of the, definitely like an illegal upload somewhere on the dark web that I found. And I was downloading, like always downloading like the Sailor Moon CDs and stuff because you couldn't find them anywhere. You couldn't buy them legally anywhere in the 90s. Early aughts. And the first time I heard that, I had such a visceral like reaction. I was like, oh my god, this is the most amazing music I've ever heard in my entire fucking life. And I loved it, like without even seeing the opening or knowing what it was like talking about. Back then I didn't speak Japanese. And so the first time I did see the opening, I felt like I had like lost my soul out of my body. Like it was, I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. And anytime I hear it, like it doesn't happen that often, but if I hear it in passing, that song, I just like stop. I'm like, oh man, my heart.
Yeah,
so I think that's, yeah.
Yeah, that is so true. I feel like so many of the other openings like are kind of underrated in a bit because like obviously like the first season opening is like classic, especially
fine.
like yeah. But like you're right, like the Stars opening is so good. I love
it slaps. You can work out to that shit. It's good.
Yeah, like I just want to like walk down the street and just like live my best life.
I feel like this is not even the question. I'm just totally turning around now. But if we're talking about the music really quickly, Sailor Stars is number 1 and Moon Revenge is fucking number 2. Holy shit. Ooh. I memorized all the words of Moon Revenge before I knew Japanese. I mean, I think a lot of us did this when we were younger. We just, we don't know, we can't speak the language, but we know all the goddamn words in different language. We can say them perfectly. But I remember that and Moon Revenge, I would plug in a boombox into my bathroom and put in my bootleg cassette tape into that player so I could listen to that song over and over again, like while I was taking a long bath or whatever. I don't know why I had this very specific memory about those two songs.
I love it.
Anyway, so those are my two picks, those songs.
I love that so much because the songs actually don't get brought up that much, and like I love I don't want to say this wrong, but it's never give up. Dun, da, da, da.
Shit, what is that? La la la. It starts with la la la. And
yeah,
it's very dumb.
You know what I'm talking about. That's all. I
Google it now.
It's the Super S ending, I believe. Yeah, la la la. Yep, the Super S ending. Or Supers, actually. I just recently learned it's Supers, not Super S, and that blew my mind.
I feel you.
I was like, what?
Amazing. Yeah, I think it's called Urashiku Ikimashou.
Yeah.
So like I'm gonna go as myself, I guess is how it's translated. Yeah. Okay. I know this now. Back then, I just thought it was just some letters I stuck together and memorized for no reason.
I love that. That's dedication.
Yeah. It's, watching, and I'm sure you're going to get to this question eventually, but I feel like we're going to segue quickly into it anyway. Watching Sailor Moon and learning about anime and like Japanese culture completely changed the whole trajectory of my life. And I say this a lot when asked about like, why do you like anime? And I'm like, well, if it wasn't for anime, I don't even know what I'd be doing right now because I liked anime when I was in college. I was like, I guess I'll take Japanese language because I have extra time for more credits and I like school. Sure, I'll start taking it my sophomore year, not even my freshman year. My sophomore year, as my language credit was finished, and I was just like, I'll just try it. Why not? I'm very good at studying because I'm Asian, I guess. But and my teachers were like, you should go to Japan. I'm like, seems like a big commitment. And then I went for a semester. And then I was obsessed with all things, not just like anime, but like, music, the culture, when I was there in 2003, I did my study abroad for, it was a spring semester. So I saw the cherry blossoms. I got to do like fireworks season there, the whole 9 yards. It was amazing. And then I came back to America and I was like, yo, I'm going to learn the shit out of this language. And when I graduated from college, I moved to Japan. I lived there for 3 years. While I was living there, I met my husband, who was not Japanese. He was just also like another gaijin living there.
Hilarious.
From my home state, weirdly. We decided to move back to the U.S. together. I moved to LA, and I worked as an editor for the English version of the English version of the Gothic Lolita Bible, which some of you nerds might remember. I pitched that project to Tokyo Pop, and then it went through. I was sitting in a lot of the meetings for that. And I ended up editing for it, and on and on, but like basically my whole life became centered around Japanese pop culture. I started doing event production for specifically Japanese brands, and I still do. And I've been on shows that talk about anime. I've done podcasts about anime. I've really like sort of made my niche, and it really did start from Sailor Moon. It changed my goddamn life.
That's so funny. I think about that too, how like Sailor Moon was the first anime I watched, and how that got me into other anime, and how like there's so many people and things that I've done just because from like that, going back to like that decision to watch that show, where I think of like even like creating this podcast and people I've met through this podcast. And like I also went to Japan and also like went to South Korea technically because of Sailor Moon, because like obviously love Sailor Moon, so I ended up watching PGSM, the live action, and then because of that I told my friend about it. Right? It is so good. And she was like, oh well, if you liked that show you might like Korean dramas, and then ended up getting into Korean dramas, and then ended up wanting to go to South Korea. And I'm like, really? Sailor Moon like led me to go to South Korea. And
it is a springboard. I don't think enough people talk about how, I think people, really dunk on anime as in all the geek world. The dumbest thing to like is like anime, right? We're like the weebs. We're the weeaboos who like can't function in society because we're obsessed with Japanese culture. But like really, I mean, it's funny to make fun of ourselves too. But if you really think about it, like it's such a huge industry now, and those of us who got into nerd stuff because of anime or manga or what have you, is like our careers and our lives are built around this now. It's not like it was not a passing phase, y'all.
Not at all. I feel like my mom just now started to get that like Sailor Moon will always be a part of my life, and that's okay. But yeah, that is really cool. I love that Sailor Moon was that jumping point for you. But I guess that kind of brings me to a next question: is who is your favorite Sailor Scout or Senshi?
Why would you ask such a difficult question? How can I pick my favorite among my children?
I only ask the hard-hitting questions on this show.
Yikes. I don't know. I would say there's characters I don't like, which is a very unpopular opinion. I do not like Shibuya, which is annoying because she has the cutest like wands and stuff.
Yeah.
like truly. Okay, so I'll start with that. My favorite, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I liked Sailor Uranus and Sailor Neptune so much because they were so different than the other Senshi and they came out like later, so it was sort of like the hot newness. But I was obsessed with those two when I first started reading their arc, and we got introduced to them. And again, not in the American version, not for a long time anyway. And so I remember just being really obsessed with them because it was sort of like, oh shit, new characters finally, like there's new ones. I love all their stuff. It's very good. But I guess I feel like I have to pick from the original 5.
You don't have to,
because again, I don't like just 2 or 1. I like all of them.
Or you can choose the inner and an outer if you want to do that.
Oh shit. Okay.
I don't know if that's your harder. Whatever you want to do. The world is yours.
Of the outers, of course, Haruka for sure. Of the inners, I think I always said I like Sailor Moon the best because she was like main character, and like don't we all strive to be the main character in our own story? I kind of liked Sailor Venus's steez because she was as goofy and sort of matched fangirl energy with Usagi, but she does have this sort of big backstory of like having fought on her own for a long time, and like having had been on her own for quite a while before she met up with the rest of the girls. And I find that she has like a tiny tragic backstory. Oh man, and speaking of Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon, in that one she has what me and my friends called glamour cancer because they wanted to make her have a tragic backstory and like make her die. Sorry, spoilers guys, if you haven't seen it, it's been way too long.
Yeah, it's like over 20 years.
Minako in PGSM is like the toughest shit I've ever seen in my life. I love her so much in that because it's so over the top, and it makes like her attitude is like so mean for no reason. But they really rewrote her character for that show, for the live action, which is not everyone's cup of tea. I would say like a combination of like her in that and the anime is sort of my fave situation.
Yeah, I still sing the song from that, like the C'est la vie.
C'est la vie?
Yes, it's like the most clever thing in the world, and it's so ridiculous.
I I have it still in my rotation on my workout playlist. C'est la vie. So okay. So once you realize the alliteration, because it's Sailor V and C'est la vie in French, and actually that song isn't even the origin of that. That what's her face? That Naoko Takeuchi actually wrote. She wrote something like she knew that pun for some reason and like wrote it into something or other, and that song was made off that pun. I believe is how that happened. Cool. But it's some good shit. And if y'all haven't heard the drama CD version of Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon, it's so bad. And it's so bad it's good. I love it.
I agree. Those are jams. I don't care what anyone says. I will jam to them forever.
I just want to start talking about the wedding episode, but I don't think we have the time.
Oh man. Well, I mean, maybe we can talk about it a little bit later on when we talk about your wedding.
That's right. I forgot. Yes, let's keep on the rails here, everybody.
Yeah. Oh my god, that is super cool. Yeah, that's so fun. That show is so good. I haven't rewatched it in a long time, and I feel like I need to.
It's a rough rewatch, though, to be real.
It's been like a while, so I'm kind of scared.
Yeah. I recently rewatched, maybe 3 years ago, I rewatched it for a work thing. We had to talk about it. I did an episode of it for, gosh, I can't remember. I've done a couple of anime shows, and they all are melding together in my mind. But one of those shows I did a special on just Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon. I think it was Otaku Movie Anatomy, I believe, on Popcorn Talk Network, so it's on YouTube somewhere. And it's just like me and Emma Fife and Yume Lee, and we just go, it's like an hour of us being like, oh my god, how did this show get made? They had no money. Like, they shot everything in 3 places. It was out of control. Anyway.
They did their best. They did their best.
It's fun. It's a good scream to watch, for sure.
Okay.
That's what I call them, a good scream.
Maybe like watching it with friends and stuff, kind of like that.
Yes, absolutely do that.
All
yes.
Right. I will. It's on my list. I do want to talk about you a little bit. You kind of spoke about your journey to becoming like a professional geek, but was there a moment like when you're like, oh, like this is what I want to do? Because it seemed like you were kind of like, oh, this is cool. Like maybe I should do this, and like, oh, maybe I should move to Japan. Like, oh, maybe I should do this. Like, when was the moment?
I think a lot of my truly a lot of my life was like that. I think. Again, I grew up without there being social media, so sort of no knowledge of. I grew up in rural Pennsylvania, so there's like not a lot going out there at all. Even without social media, it was pretty much a lawless land of, no diversity. The people you meet are pretty, everyone, you're pretty cut off from the rest of the world. It's not like living in a big city, or having access to Twitter. But so growing up, I didn't have any gauge, any sort of way to know that there were jobs in media, like that media existed wasn't a thing that every person ran around thinking about, or no one, like the average person couldn't edit a video. They couldn't we didn't have digital photos when you had to have cameras and film and money, to do anything media related. So, I went to college. I was a super nerd and I love school. I triple majored in advertising, English literature, and Japanese language, with a minor in geoscience. Don't ask about that one. I just liked rocks for I went through a phase. The rocks were real cool.
That's cool. I phase too. I get it.
Yeah, right. And then, sort of like after I went to Japan, that was my senior year of what should have been my senior year of college. I took an extra year at school because I ended up picking up a third major. I just realized, I'm still young. I should just kind of study whatever I want to study, try whatever I want to try, do whatever I like, because, I don't know, life's short. And I've got a lot of time. So I kind of had the idea in my head. So when I came back from Japan, I was like, man, I need to get an internship, because if I don't, I'll die, because that's what college tells you. And I was like, well, wouldn't it be cool if I could work for a company that publishes, because I work in literature, so publications, that publishes Japanese language stuff for, English language. So a licensing company, basically. And I looked into Tokyo Pop because at the time, they were the only publisher publishing Sailor Moon. It was back in 2003, everybody. Yes. It was just Tokyo Pop and Viz. That's all there was back then. All these other little companies didn't exist yet. Funimation wasn't a thing. Seven Seas Entertainment didn't exist. Or if they did, they were so small, no one heard of them. So they were in LA, and I lived in Pennsylvania. I went to school at Penn State, and I I just called and applied for their summer internship program. I got in because they don't pay you, so it cost them nothing to have a bunch of idiot interns running around doing nothing. And I learned a lot from being there, and it is sort of why I live in LA now. Sort of, I got that taste of the West Coast. And anyway, I guess, sorry, the question was, how did I get where I am? But from that jumping point, I knew that you could really just, you could chase your interests and you can work in them. You didn't have to study, psychology and be a psychologist. You could just do what you wanted to at the time. So with that in mind, once I moved to Japan, I graduated from college, I moved to Japan in 2005. And while I was there, that work was just like whatever. I was teaching English, and I'm making air quotes, but you can't see me. Because that was my full-time job. That's why I had my visa. But I was also like on the side freelance, editing and writing articles for magazines. I was bartending. I was just doing like whatever the spirit moved me to do. And then when I finally moved to LA for that publishing job, that job went away really quick. It was in 2008, and the publishing industry crashed that year, if anyone remembers. We had a very bad recession before that, and then that 2008 was the crash. And so everyone lost their jobs. That company basically went under. They laid off almost everybody except for like 6 people, and then they rehired some of us back on as freelancers, which really sucked. And I was like, okay, what do I do now? And again, following sort of my geek instinct, I just kind of did whatever. I worked a couple of PR jobs that were very terrible. Some of the worst jobs of my life, where I would sit in the parking lot and cry before I went to work because it was so bad. Nice. I worked in customer service at a video game company called Konami. You might have heard of them. And then like I started making accessories on the side, like little headbands with bows on them. And my friend happened to own a store, and she was working with the Hello Kitty brand to do an event, the first ever Hello Kitty sort of party for her anniversary. And I was like, hey, her name's Jamie. She owns a store called Japan LA, still exists. And I was like, hey, Jamie, I made these bows that kind of look like Hello Kitty's bow. Do you think you could like show them to in your meetings? Because I think it'd be cool if like maybe the workers in the cafe wore them, because they were planning on doing a Hello Kitty cafe. And she's like, okay, whatever, and like took a box. And I guess like one thing led to another, and the president of the company got a hold of them and was like, oh my God, we need these. And they just started ordering these huge quantities from me. So I quit my job, I started doing that, and then that's when I became full-time freelance and really was like, okay, I can just make my own job. I don't need to wait for anyone else's permission to like do what I want. And from there, I've worked in, I've jumped from that to working in media on camera, doing hosting for shows about anime, about geek culture, about, doing movie reviews, that kind of thing. And from that hosting world, I just sort of got in touch with a lot of people who played tabletop games. So I would say maybe 7 years ago or so, I started playing D&D. My friend was like, hey, let's get together and play. You guys interested? And everyone was like, yeah, sure, why not? A lot of us, our first time playing. So since I started playing with that group, I was like, this is so fun. I wonder, there's like shows that do this. And I was also friends with, if you're familiar with Critical Role, not all of them, but like the main people from that Matt Mercer and Marisha, we were friends way back before they had any of that stuff, and they were just, trying out voice acting for the first time, and like we were all friends in the same group. And so when they jumped to starting that show, all of us from the sidelines, like that friend group, was like, oh, that's so cool, that's really random, and like, wow, that's definitely like a one-time thing, and no one else is going to do this, right? And of course, as the industry moved on, there were more D&D shows, more tabletop shows, more gaming shows, and I got involved with a network called Hyper RPG, doing hosting and doing tabletop games with them. I had a show called Cured in Boredom that was like a 3-hour board game show every week. And then from there, I just started getting invited on to do tabletop shows. My first long-running campaign was called Rat Queens, based on the comic.
Yes.
By Image Comics, and that was really fun. And then I have since and then I have since been on I don't know, something like 40 to 50 shows, I think, since that was a while ago, but I'm starting a new show next week. It's sort of like it's really fun. I've played every system that I know of, and it's been great. And I think I'm still doing that stuff. I'm still hosting, and I'm also producing now as well. I do production on some shows for Twitch Gaming, which is really difficult and really rewarding. A show called The Weekly, where people kind of come on every week and talk about the gaming news of that week, their favorite games. We do interviews with developers. But yeah, I feel like I do sort of just follow sort of what I feel like doing in the moment, and that has led me to where I am now. A very complicated career that you can't just say in one sentence.
I love that. I love that too, because I feel like now more than ever, like I love what you said, where you can literally make up what your job's gonna be. Like you don't need to like put yourself or like say like I want to do like this specific thing. It's like, oh, I can actually do like all the things and come up with something that like fits all of those things, or just have a long list of here are the wide variety of things I do on a yearly basis, and they make me happy.
Yeah, I think finding your niche is so important in the working world, because it's true that, you know, you ever see that meme, like, you know, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life, and then someone edits it and says, like, do what you love and you'll work all the time nonstop with no boundaries for the rest of your life. There's such a fine line, and I think deciding what things are going to be your real hobbies that you're not going to make money of, that you're not going to record and put on TikTok, that are just for you, for your mental health, and then what things are sort of like, I can do this and I can enjoy it, but I am going to promote myself while doing it. It's a choice. You have to make it, and it can't be 100% of the things you do for fun, though, because it really, I think I've in my life I have gone too far to one side on that, and it's very detrimental to your mental health, and you will burn out.
Yeah, that is so absolutely true too. Just like keeping that balance and making sure that, you know, you're doing things that you love, but also like working around the clock. It's easy to work around the clock when you're like, I want to get this done, and
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
And I'm glad there's more. And when I started freelancing, you know, 1,000 years ago, I think there was no conversation about mental health. It was, you know, so much of what America is built on is pull yourself up by your bootstraps and be a self-made person. It's like, listen, if I work constantly, I will die.
I'm gonna take a nap.
Because there's no one can keep that pace up, and just by being busy doesn't make you a better person.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely. Yeah, I am quick to take a nap. Like I love a good nap, so I'm all for that. Yeah. And you make me like happy too, because like tabletop gaming is something I've always wanted to get into, and I've always like missed opportunities in the times where I could have done it. But you make me feel like it's not too late that you got into it like a little bit later, because I just assume everyone's playing it their whole life for some reason.
Well, I think social media makes us think that anytime someone becomes an expert or says anything confidently on social media, you're like, wow, they must know a lot about it. And maybe they do, but you know, how long does it take someone to learn how to do something? You know, maybe think about it, like I'm not curing cancer. I'm playing a game. It has a rule book. It's not like just write it. It's not like sure, there's a skill to acting and creating, you know, a narrative. Yes, that takes time, but you know, learning how to play a game, you playing the game.
Yeah. Well, you're definitely encouraging me more to like really get into that.
Yeah, and it's fun. Like, just play, like, whatever. There's no like right or wrong way to do it. You do. Someone says, "What do you do?" and you go, "I don't know. Open a door." Get hurt you. Oh fuck. Okay, next time I'll check that door. Actually, you just do that over and over again.
I can do that.
Yeah.
And I promised you we will talk about the wedding a bit, because I think I can't remember, at least for a few years, I remember, you know, I have been planning a Sailor Moon themed wedding since before I was like ever got engaged or like had someone I was dating. Like I was like, this is happening. And at some point I like started coming across your pictures. So I've been like a fan for a while. And yeah, just like how did that come together? And I've read a little bit of your blog post, but like for people listening, and yeah, like how did that go, and what? Yeah, just tell me the story.
So weddings are traditionally traditional and have all these stupid rules around them, and are so largely in America sort of dictated by your family's traditions and blah 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 blah. I'm a professional event planner by trade, and I was sort of in my heyday back then too. I was like throwing every fucking party in LA, and I was like, if I'm gonna spend a whole bunch of money on a party for us, I'm just gonna do what I want. And I would say that the idea sort of I got a seed planted for it, because when I had my engagement party a year before, we got engaged in October. We had an engagement party in December. I was like, oh, this should have a theme. And then I was like, ooh, what's a cheap way to decorate this place? And I was like, oh, paper craft. And I'm like, wait a minute. You know what else is made of paper? Fucking manga. So I got like a bunch of old manga, rest in peace, my friends, like old copies of X from Clamp. And it just made a shoujo manga themed engagement party. And then from that seed of like an idea, I kind of workshopped, oh, it'd be really nice if it'd be Sailor Moon related, because I love Sailor Moon, and I feel like there's a way to do it that's not just like, we're cosplay and, you know, we're tiara. And if there's anything wrong with that, I want it to be like upscale, classy. And I get a question a lot from people, which is really annoying, that like, I can't believe your husband let you do that, which is so messed up. It's like, whoa. So hey kids, when you get married, make sure you pick someone who has like interest, or who if they don't have similar interests to you, respects your interests.
Like, yeah.
In my case,
say respect.
Yeah,
it's like your body autonomy. Sorry.
Yeah,
just
it's like
that.
Yes,
That's also important.
Exactly. No, please jump in at any time. No, when you're in a couple, you should be talking about your interests. You should not be hiding parts of yourself for their benefit. This makes no sense to me. And you know, when I met my husband, we met in Japan. Like, we're kind of both nerds, you know. So we talked a lot about the wedding, how we would do it, and he is like, "Oh, I like whatever theme you pick. I would like it if it is still like, you know, upscale and classy, and I mean, and like kind of trusts me to do it that way." And of course, he like has watched Sailor Moon. He is part of the weeb world as well. He's watched just as much, if not more, Japanese dramas and anime than I have. But so what I kind of was still twisting around my head. Okay, something Sailor Moon, maybe something Final Fantasy, maybe something. I had a whole bunch of geek ideas in my back pocket, and I was like, let's look at venues, and then that'll help us solidify an idea, because I'm not gonna do. You know, the venue is so important. So we looked at 1,000 venues. They were all $1 bazillion. It was very disheartening. This is Los Angeles. And then we found a place called the Oviatt Penthouse, which is downtown Los Angeles. Still exists. You can still rent it for weddings. I see lots of beautiful weddings there all the time. It is historical property on the top floor of this building that used to be a large department store owned by someone named, I think it was Henry Oviatt. And on the bottom of that building is this place called Cicada nightclub, which is unrelated, but it's like an Art Deco-y place with like cool doors. You get nice pictures out there, and then you take this elevator. You go to the top floor. It was Oviatt's private residence, and it's now like a historical landmark, so they can't change anything in it. And it's beautiful. It's all art. It's a little Art Nouveau Art Deco, sort of like half and half. And we walked through this space, and they just had a really great deal on us. Like, look, if you get married between the months of December and was it, I think, March, then they will waive some like $14,000 fee, because it's the off season and because the venue is mostly outdoors, and like in LA that's the time when it might rain. And I was like, I will take that fucking chance, because I saved so much money. So yeah, so we picked that place, and because it was Art Deco-y, and I was like, oh my god, what goes better with Art Deco than moons and stars? And so I started to sort of have an idea in my head about, okay, it's Sailor Moon, but we're just using the iconography from Sailor Moon, and not like the faces, you know? So I worked with my friend, Yume Gersh, and she helped me put together a graphics package for like the invitations. And that sort of became my mood board. Anything stars, moons, Art Deco. It kind of made the color palette, which became gold with grays and blues, and sort of that idea of like glamorous, but all the notes were stars and moons. And that was pretty easy, because like if you're just talking about shapes, then you don't have to put like, you know, you don't print out pictures of like Usagi and put them on the wall. We themed our drinks to be manga-ish. We bought like glitter gold stars to like put in the champagne flutes. We did all the Sailor Senshi symbols for the table numbers instead of numbers. We did, for runners, instead of it being like flowers, I cut out a ton of like stars and moons, and did paper craft for that. And for my, I kind of was like taking the inspiration from the, sorry, what's it called? What's that Moon Kingdom called? Yeah, the Moon Kingdom. And yeah, how it's all like sort of silvery, and it's sort of like an Art Nouveau situation. So I made all my bridesmaids wear gray. They were traditional like bridesmaids gowns we found on like some cheap website online. But then we made them these like iridescent silver capes to go over because like capes were having a moment back in what year is this? 2014. And yeah, they are absolutely. So everyone had a cute flowy cape, and then like the only like very comic book cosplay looking thing that existed at my wedding was that I had an oversized version of the Cutie Moon Rod, which I got the inspiration because Sailor Moon, the anime reboot was it the reboot? Yeah, had just started airing, I believe, and that was like one of the images from the interstitial of her was Usagi carrying this huge Cutie Moon Rod, and I was like, holy shit, I want one of those. So my friends, the late great Imahara, helped me make that. He was just so excited to make it. I actually went to him for just sort of like consultation, like how would I make this? And he was like, no, I'm gonna make this for you. It's too complicated for you to do it. And I'm like, no, please, oh my god, please don't do this. You don't have the time. And you know, he did it, and that was my wedding present from him, which I still have, of course. And then my bridesmaids all carried like sort of oversized versions of the Sailor Stars version of their Senshi wands, which I thought was really nice. We made them out of Christmas ornaments. It was awesome. We DIY'd that whole thing. And it kind of made me mad maybe like 5 years later when you could just buy all the stuff that we made for the wedding. Like you can Google Sailor Moon wedding now, and there's like a whole package you can buy in Japan where they just give you like every table's themed to a senshi, and the colors are all coordinated. I'm like, damn, that's nice. It's all done. But yeah, and the only cosplay at my wedding was just the wands, and then the flower girls. My mother made. I had two flower girls. My nieces. They wore what looked like Sailor Moon's princess gown, but like in a cute little kid version, which is adorable. And then the ring bearer, he wore a black suit, and then he just sort of wore I didn't want to make him uncomfortable, and I was like, do you want to wear this little white tuxedo mask? And he's like, not really. I'm like, okay, could you put it in your pocket for me, please, so that people can see it's in your pocket? And he's like, okay. And that's what we did, and that was it. So that's the long version, but yes, that was my wedding, and it was really fun to do. The comments I got on it were so nice. I saw a memory pop up recently where I put a photo of us was used in a Chinese newspaper, like about our wedding, and like we did not get permission for anyone to use it. We're just like, oh, okay, we're just in some Chinese newspaper. We got coverage from Japanese wedding outlets, and of course, like at the the brunt of like the
yeah,
American geek
everywhere. That's so cool
really
though.
nice.
It's so funny. It's like random Chinese outlet. They're like the news of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Still pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't know. It must be
oh man, yeah. Well, thank you for giving me that. I love that. I'm like completely in awe, especially that you did everything yourself. Like said, you could all buy it now, but yours was a labor of love.
Yeah, I had a whole year, and I really, as an event planner, I remember, I gotta find a photo of this. I had these huge Excel sheets printed and taped to the door of my office for a whole year of all the things that I need to do in a year, and it was fucking wild. I would say the worst part of doing all that was making my own wedding dress. Do not do this, ladies! It is, even if you can do it, which I did do it, it is so stressful because every step of the way, you're like, is this ugly? Oh god, do I hate this? Oh no, it's too late.
Yeah, I can imagine just
and it was fine, of course. I just got real
nitpicking over every little detail. Like, this thread is a little crooked. Let me redo it. And it's like, you wouldn't have even noticed it if you didn't make this dress. Yeah. So I can see that for sure. Exactly. I guess quickly, if you want to give me like your small hot take about the PGSM wedding.
What? Oh,
yeah.
First of all, incredible. The dress was horrifying. The storyline made no sense. The girl who played Sailor Mars at that time, her name is escaping me right now. She had just been booked to film Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. So Sailor Mars like had an accident really early on in the special because she couldn't film. Like she basically filmed all her scenes like off, like by herself. It's earlier on. You could tell, and then she only showed up at the very end of the wedding. It's great. It's a ride. If you can't watch any other Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon except for that last wedding episode, which was released as a special way after the series aired, I absolutely recommend it. It's wild as hell. That That's my hot take. It's just great, and they really had no money to film all that. And the song is stupid as hell. Also, I think isn't that the one where Isagi sings that like they're like riding on a motorcycle and she's singing that weird song about like going on the over the rainbow? Is that from that episode?
That sounds vaguely familiar. It's been so long.
Yeah.
But it's Keiko Kitagawa?
Yeah, Keiko. Yo, you know what else is really great about PGSM? Almost, I think all of them are still friends. If you go stalk them and find their Instagrams. I did this maybe 3 years ago. They, when someone's birthday, they all get together and they take a photo together, and it's like, oh my god, you guys are great. And a lot of them have moved on to do like other things. I think Keiko has done the most like movie work. And then some of them kind of just became models or you know graduated from acting at some point. But I think Keiko definitely has been in more movies and foreign films than other ones.
Yeah, that's so cool. That makes me so happy. It's like you guys are still friends in real life and hang out and stuff. You're really making me want to rewatch it because I don't that at all. For some reason, I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna rewatch it like it's new almost, and I remember like certain things like Isagi coming back and like
she straight up like almost does die right in that series and comes back like real mean.
yeah like the memories of her like brought her back or something. Like I remember that.
Yeah,
I don't know why
they rewrote a whole bunch of Sailor Moon.
Yeah. It was such a good show. I remember just thinking like I remember going in thinking like this is gonna be so horrible and corny and bad, and I'm guessing it probably is, but it was just better than what I expected at the time. And I think
with no expectations it's incredible. And please don't forget that for Luna and Artemis they could not get an animated fucking puppet for this thing. Instead they had a plush they threw around. They threw around a plush. So it was just a plush. It was not a puppet.
Just an actual plush. It's like very obvious that like someone is just like bopping it around for some reason.
Yeah, no, its eyes, they don't blink. It does not have a mouth through which it talks. It just moves its head left and right because there's some poor PA down there probably holding it under the camera.
Yep. Yeah, they should have just kept them human as the little kids or something instead of that. I don't know.
They do show up as little kids and they're annoying as hell.
Yeah. Oh man, you really make me want to rewatch it. It's only like 25 episodes. I feel like I can knock that out.
Yeah, you can do it. You've got the time.
I'm gonna do it. Maybe we'll do like a live watch for the podcast. It'll be fun.
Yes, you should. Yes.
All right, I'll do that. I have like the DVDs. I got some like bootlegs years ago that's actually how I watched it, like the early 2000s.
I think I got my stuff off the dark web, but I don't think you can. I don't think anyone's licensed it. Like I don't think you can buy it. So
no,
everyone please buy licensed stuff. But if you can't find it, then what are you gonna do?
Yeah, that's I mean, if it ever comes out licensed, I would buy it again. So
yes, absolutely.
I fully support.
I want that in 4K, please.
Yes, I need it all. I need to see the puppets, like little fibers.
Oh god, I wonder who even owns that. You know, because that wasn't even like I don't know who owns the rights for that show. It's a mystery.
That's a good point. I don't know either, actually, but yeah, I don't know. And another note, what senshi do you think would make the best dungeon master?
Okay, who's here for the drama? Is it not Sailor Pluto?
Ooh.
Sailor Pluto is like the yeah, I feel like she is the elder goth geek of the group, has seen the most shit in her life because she's, you know, technically she's been alive for like by herself for like thousands of years, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that she's so I feel like she's got some stories to tell. She's been thinking real hard about she's good at entertaining herself, so probably has a really great imagination.
That's a really good answer because I didn't think about that.
Right?
For some reason
with great suffering comes great creativity, I think is how that's made.
Sounds right to me. I'm sure that's what Uncle Ben said.
Did you call him Spider Uncle Ben?
I was going to say Spider-Man, and I was like, wait, no, it's Uncle Ben who said it. It's in Spider-Man.
I like Spider Uncle Ben because it's clear which Uncle Ben you mean. I like that.
That's so true. Actually, I'm not wondering if there's like a multiverse version where Uncle Ben becomes Spider-Man.
That has to have happened.
I need that in my life.
Go get it, Uncle. I'm sure it exists.
Sure, it's like a Spider-Man rule. If it exists, there's a Spider-Man of it. But what else would you say you stan outside of Sailor Moon? and it could be literally anything.
Oh, like what am I into right now?
Right now, in general, for me, it's like Beyonce and face
Oh,
masks.
okay. Like
Yeah,
real stuff. Real stuff.
or it could be other anime.
I'm not gonna. I'm like a fish. I have a very short memory about feelings, strong feelings. What I'm really into right now are one, the show that I'm in on Tuesdays. This is sort of a plug. It's Outbreak Undead. It's our second season. It's basically a zombie survival tabletop
Ooh.
RPG, and I've never been part of a serious horror genre tabletop show before, and I've been part of this cast for about a year now. And my god, like just our last Tuesday episode, there was a jump scare in there, and I got so scared I like fell off a chair. Like
No.
so I'm not a horror fan in general because things that are scary tend to stick in my brain and I think about it too much and it like messes up my mental health.
Same.
But like being in the story is a way for me to enjoy horror, to like it's like fun to be scared in a way that I've never experienced before. So that's the first thing that I would say. My second thing, which is another thing I've only experienced just this week, is Singles Inferno on Netflix.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Can we talk about this? Okay, so
yeah.
I'm a huge fan of Asian reality shows. I was a big Terrace House fan. That did not go well towards the end there. I have watched a whole bunch of Heart Signal, Heart Signal is on Rakuten for free. It's I believe it's licensed by them, so you can just watch that on Rakuten's website. Heart Signal is a Korean dating show similar to Singles Inferno, but they're all living in a house and they're also allowed to go back to their jobs every day. And it's very stupid and almost no one gets together. Like at the end it's sort of like, well, I guess that didn't work. It's just a stupid show. It's like an hour and a half long. The commentary is so long. Okay, Singles Inferno, I feel like they condensed it down since it's Netflix. And the panelists talk for way less, which I enjoy. I love the panelists. I think they're great. But they do talk for way less. And the rules are stupid and arbitrary. And that ending, my god.
What about plot twist?
It's a plot twist. And I think it's a really manageable amount of media to get through because each episode's only like a half an hour, right? Or is it an hour?
It might be an hour, but there's only 8, I think.
It goes fast. Yeah, it's not like regular Korean dramas are like there are 25 episodes. They are an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah,
good luck.
I have fell off on that for that reason because I'm like I don't have 25 plus hours to binge a show in a one weekend anymore. So
yeah. So I would say this genre of show is so interesting because I'm American. I grew up in America. Even though I'm Asian, I don't have any really visceral knowledge of like what Asian dating is like, because it is culturally so different. Like it seems to us like a lot more pure. There's no kissing in that show at all. There is zero
There's
kissing.
One cheek kiss, and it was like the most intense moment.
Oh yes. Yes, there was one cheek kiss, and the hand holding is like this huge fucking moment. So I think like that buildup of like the simple things is really nice. I did just start watching the other new dating show, Future Diary on Netflix, which is about it's a one couple that they like cast and they put them together and they have to follow what a diary says. It's supposed to be from their future self. It's not. It's just the producers give them like a little script. It's like, okay, at the start of this day, you saw a beautiful sunrise, and by the end of the day, you see him running away, smiling, and they're like, what the fuck? And then they just have to kind of get there through, of course, the producers like giving them tickets to this boat ride, and then being like, oh, we need someone to help us do this, activity. So they sort of lead these real two people who are acting like themselves through activities, so they'll fall in love. And the premise makes no goddamn sense, right? But I've been watching it and I'm like, oh, they're falling in love. Like they know it's scripted or they know it's like produced, but like they are really falling in love, and it's like they really want to see each other. Because sometimes when they fail a task, they are not able to see each other anymore for like a couple weeks or something, and it like really upsets them. So I don't know, but it's like so fascinating. I can't. Sometimes I don't know why I like it. I'm just watching it for hours at a time. I'm distracted.
I love that. I'm like writing all of these down because I like after Singles Inferno, I'm like, I need more. And I ended up watching Love is Blind just because I was like, I don't typically watch dating shows, but like Singles Inferno has like started this obsession with me. And so I was like, I'm gonna watch Love is Blind.
It's different. And and it's not like an American dating show. There's none of this like, I feel like The Bachelor and all this stuff, it's really predicated on how
Yeah.
sneaky can you be to win the time
Super
with a
toxic.
person. Whereas this is sort of like, if they like me, they like me. And, there's a little bit of like, oh, let me try to get them by themselves and talk with them. But it's not, there's none of this like, like all the girls are like best friends. They all like hold hands and like hug each other. Like it's really sweet. I don't know.
It's like soothing, and something about it just feels a little less toxic than like The Bachelor. That some reason I can never get into those shows. I mean, I did watch like Flavor of Love back in the day,
Same.
But I think now for the American reality shows, it feels stressful to watch them, and like the Korean dating shows still feel a little stressful, but it's a little more like because there's tension, and it's like, oh my god, like are they gonna kiss? Like, oh my god, like what's going on here? Leave that girl alone. Like, I don't know. But it is enjoyable. What was the other one you said? Heart something?
Heart signal.
Okay.
Heart signal. Because they have to send signals at the end of the day. Like I think it's a note situation, sort of like Singles Inferno, where they leave a note for somebody, or the key. I can't remember there's some sort of gimmick where or like a text. I don't know. And they get a message saying like why this person liked them at the end of the day, but they don't know who it's from. They've got to guess. And it's the same situation where it's like it starts with 3 boys and 4 girls, but then they add more people. But the cast has been and there's a lot more product placement in that, by the way. You're like, wow, they really have a lot of the same purse, or like, why do they keep showing them blow drying their hair with this Dyson hair dryer every day? Yeah, and it's long.
Okay,
though.
well, you are giving me so much to watch for the next few weeks because I've been trying to fill the Singles Inferno hole in my heart, and this is perfect. So thank you.
Right. You're welcome.
And also, I just wanted to ask you if you can give some advice for anyone who maybe wants to throw a Sailor Moon wedding or become a professional geek.
Oh gosh, for the wedding one, I would say whatever it is that you and your partner are interested in, just like kind of go with that feeling. But it's very important. Decide what style you want your wedding to be first. I would say this: a lot of wedding shows that I've watched, it makes me so angry when they're like, what's the theme of your wedding? And they're like, glamorous. I'm like, bitch, that is not a theme. That is a style. It makes me so mad. Or they all say princess. I'm like, that's not a fucking theme.
Which princess?
For example, I picked Art Deco, or you could pick Renaissance, or you could pick, garden. That's sort of like your style of the thing. A garden party isn't a theme. It's the style of the party. The theme for a garden party would be maybe it's Cardcaptor Sakura. Maybe it's the garden from one of the Final Fantasy games. Maybe it's like that garden can be a thing from a thing you love. So if you want to have a theme wedding, you definitely need to, the actual theme, I would say the property, the licensed property that you pick, or the character or activity, like that's very important. But you must pair it with a style to sort of kind of make it into a cohesive idea. Otherwise, you're just like printed out shit and taping it to the walls, which is not, that's like a birthday party. That's nothing. So that's my main takeaway there. Also, just follow your heart. Don't let people tell you to do. It's your wedding. Honor your relatives by, doing the things that are traditions in your family, but know that this is a celebration of you and your partner's union. So what you guys want is also very important, and please don't put that on the back burner. I think a lot of people, and if the words "my husband won't let me do this" ever come out of your mouth, then you've got a problem.
Yeah.
You've got a problem. And then I guess advice for people who want to be professional tabletop player. I would say like strive to love the game, and strive to like understand why you love the game. What parts of it do you like? If the parts that you love are being close with your friends and having an activity with your friends that gets you guys to know each other better, then that's not really, then you don't have to make this into your job. You can just keep doing that. I think there's a lot of pressure, again, to make your hobbies into jobs. You do not have to do that. If you like being an on-camera personality, if you like improv, if you like creating a dramatic story for others to enjoy, and that's something that you think you're good at making or good at contributing to, then yes, maybe look into doing it on camera professionally. And I use the word professionally, like, the difference between playing it with your friends and playing it on camera is not, it's not only, looking nice and maybe wearing costumes and production quality. As a player, it is about performing. You are in that character. You are giving that emotion with your voice, with your face, with your hand gestures. you're performing, you are acting, you're improvising. So I would suggest an improv class if that's something you're really serious about. Improv has changed my life, and I think it's really important to know how to, like, yes and a bitch. Like, it's not just doing that. There's all these tools that you can have, like, in your belt to sort of react to something in an original, unique way that adds to the story, that gives other people something to do. Another important thing about being on a show is sort of acknowledging your space. And this is like a rule that actors have too, just across the board, not just like tabletop shows. But it's like, you're there as a group telling a group story, so it's not me time. It's like you all are contributing together. So it's sort of, it's giving each other that gift of like, hey, I feel like you're trying to do something important here, or this is the time where you could do something, but you can't tell them that on camera. So you want to sort of give them the space to find things on their own. As a DM, if you're the dungeon master or the game master, and you're giving your players a space, it's sort of instigating them to put their best foot forward. And not a lot of people, but I think when you go from playing with friends to playing on camera, a lot of people don't think about that, like giving people space. They think about, I've got to just be like so good because I need to impress people. I can't be bad. And that thought really gets in your way, I think, in a show. And it becomes really obvious that, like, maybe you want to show off something, or you're trying to like show how good you are when really you're not giving enough space to everybody else. So I think my most important note here is just give everyone at the table space. And everything that you say is for someone else to play with too. So it's not just about like you doing a thing.
Yeah.
It's very collaborative.
That was really good. And I feel like I asked about you being a professional geek, but I feel like that was even a better answer question. So that worked out really well. And yeah, I watched a few of them, and I really love that even if like one person was talking, everyone was kind of reacting to what they said. And I think that kind of speaks to what you're saying, where it's like, it's a collaboration, and everyone kind of, even if you're not talking, you can still do things to kind of like contribute to the overall experience. And it's great.
Yeah, listening is the number one thing, and improv too, that teach you. It's just that how can you react on something, or how can you add to the story if you don't know what just happened? You have to be listening, right, or not just waiting your turn.
Yeah, that makes kind of a lot of sense. And then, just like Sailor Moon had the Sailor Moon Says phrase at the end of every episode, what would your phrase be? Sailor Michelle Says.
Sailor Michelle says, make space to do the things you love without it being performative. And God, I'm so bad making things one-sided. Hold on, let me redo this. Okay, retake. Sailor Michelle says, do what you love, but make sure you give yourself room in your life, in your day, to take care of yourself too. Because when you do something you love for work, you give yourself away a lot, and you don't keep anything for yourself. So make sure you keep a little bit for yourself too.
I love it, and I needed that. So thank you. I love that so much. That is perfect. Thank you, Sailor Michelle. And then what is next for you, and where can people find you?
So I mentioned already, every Tuesday you can find me on twitch.tv/hyperrpg on a show called Outbreak Undead, United States of the Dead, which is the like subtitle for the season. That is at 6 p.m. Pacific time every Tuesday. I'm also starting a new show. As of this recording, the first episode will be this coming Monday, January. What date is that? Boop. January 17th. On twitch.tv/cnet. This is for Idle Champions. I can't tell you exactly. I can't really announce, I guess, what it is exactly yet. But it's D&D, and it's gonna be really cool. And we're not playing regular humanoids. So that's gonna be a new show every Monday for about, I want to say it's maybe 10 or 12 episodes. I'm not exactly sure. We have a whole season lined up for that. And anything else that you want to follow me or look at my stuff will be posted on my Twitter, which is at I am Chubby Bunny.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And once again, I'm Victoria L. Johnson, host of the Sailor Moon Fan Club podcast. You can find me at Ms. Old School on Twitter and Instagram, and you can find the podcast at Moonies Club on Twitter, Moonies_club on Instagram, and we also have merch at mooniesclub.com, and I have some TikToks on the TikTok at Sailor Victoria. And thank you again, Michelle, for coming on the Sailor Moon Fan Club podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Bye, Moonies.
Bye.